What is up, Wretched Nation? Today we are going to put those stock dyna shocks on this roadglide. We've already got it set up, for the most part, to put those shocks on. Or if you don't remember, we took off the stock chrome shocks on my dyna. We're going to put them on here just to see how they feel. Should be a little bit of help for those bigger guys out there. Obviously, we're going to stay pretty sketchy with the floor jack. Could not get it onto the other side due to not having the amount of height we need. So we're going to be extra careful and hope we don't mess everything up. But the very first thing we need to do is we need to get these saddlebags off. Alright, we remove the saddlebags, and as you can see, they're gone. And this is the helper shock and spring. It's literally nothing. It just, I guess, keeps the bike stabilized because it really runs off of one shock, which is this thing right here. And as you can see, I don't know if you can, but we pretty much keep that thing maxed out. So we are going to pop these off and put those other shocks on and see if it works at all. Not quite sure, but we'll see how it goes. I got this idea from another YouTuber. His YouTube channel is Cruise Sin City. He had an old pair of dyna shocks, and he put on his, I believe his is a 2019 roadglide, same suspension setup. His bike should be, I think, pretty identical to mine, except I believe he would have a 114. But we're going to throw these on and see what happens. Alright, we're going to do this one side at a time. We're going to do the helper spring first. I believe it's not going to have much tension on it at all. Alright, note to self, do the bottom one first. And you don't have to worry about that swinging somewhere. Alright, you can tell with this spring, I mean, it's not holding any weight. So we'll put that to the side, go grab our dyna shock. Alright, here's a comparison between the two shocks. Pretty sure they're the same height, but look at the coil springs on those two. One is way beefier than the other, and the other one's going to be a little bit thicker. I hope the bag doesn't interfere. I don't think it does because this shock on the other side's bigger. But if it interferes, then we won't have a video, will we? So let's throw this on and see how it goes. All right. Alright, shot went on pretty quick. doesn't interfere with anything. So that looks pretty good. Obviously we don't know if it interferes with the bag or not, but it doesn't interfere with the brake caliper. So we'll switch to the other side and do the same thing. Alright, we're going to take this shock loose. I don't know if it shouldn't matter if we have our adjustment any such way. So we're just going to leave it the way it was and take this shock off. Alright, now these two shocks are about the same size. And I'm just curious, I'm wondering what would happen if you took two of the adjustable springs and put them on the bike. So I have one on each side. Wonder what would happen. But you see the coil springs on this one are roughly the same size. Now obviously we've lost our dampening ability. So it may not be worth what we're doing, but as you can see, it's pretty easy to swap these shocks out, start to finish, setting everything up, putting the bike on the ground and being done. You can do it within an hour, so it's not that big of a deal. But we'll swap these shocks out, see how it feels. Alright, we're going to tighten all this up, put saddlebags back on, and I'm going to take this down the road, see how it feels. Alright guys, we are out on the road. Just switch these shocks out, and right off the bat I don't feel anything different, which I don't mean that in a bad way. I was a little afraid they were going to be kind of stiff with me by myself, but they feel about how my other shocks were, about as stiff as they could go. So the plan is obviously we're going to ride into town and go over some railroad tracks. This is a good section right here. Felt pretty good, but go over some railroad tracks. And go over some bumps and stuff in town that I'm used to. Maybe even hit a speed bump or two, and just to see how it feels. But right off the bat, I'm confident that I'm not going to have an issue with it at all. I was a little afraid of, you know, it being so tight that me by myself might not have enough weight to push it down. And even though these shocks come off a bike I was already riding, the angle that they're installed is different, so they would feel different, and it's on a different bike. So I was wondering, you know, if they just wouldn't feel right, but feels fine to me. So we're gonna go over some bumps and see how it works out. Alright guys, we're close to town. We're getting ready to come over some railroad tracks. That's one of the biggest things I like to test the suspension on, is because it's multiple bumps in one little spot. So the rebound and everything, you're really going to feel it. That was very smooth. That was nice. Usually, to test it out, I would go a little faster than that, but got our old semi truck in the way, so we can't go any faster than we did. But that was pretty smooth. As far as myself, I don't have a problem at all having these shocks on here. So far. That was a big bump. I felt that one in my back for sure. But the bike never bottomed out. I didn't get that bottom out feeling that I could with the other shocks, especially riding 2 up. That was just straight up bump. So I think I'm happy with the suspension. We're not going to make this a 2-part video like we are with the shocks on the Dyna, because these shocks have 30,000 miles on them, so there's no break-in period. The only thing I will do is I'm not going to, I don't know why I'm trying to put it in neutral, this light ain't that long. I'm not going to put the video out until I get the wife to ride and we can see how it rides with her on the back, because then I'll have an accurate understanding if I'm going to keep these shocks on here. But as far as myself goes, I'm happy with them. And you do have to remember that I paid $0 for this. These are shocks that I took off from my Dyna when I did a shock swap on that. So take that for what it's worth. I'm not sure that it's going to be worth you going out and spending some money on these type of shocks. That being said, there's probably hundreds of pairs of these type of shocks, and there are some decent factory Dyna shocks out there that you might be able to scoop up for cheap. But I'm not going to be one to say you should go out and spend $150, $200 on shocks, or these stock shocks. I haven't really looked at prices of shocks for this bike, but any amount of money that you're gonna, anything over $100, I would say keep it and save it for a real set of shocks. That's just me. Now we're getting to the bumpy side of town, but it's holding its own. So as far as I'm concerned, it passed the solo ride test. I'm happy with it. We're going to keep them on there until we see how it rides with the old lady on it. Of course, if she doesn't like it, then well, back to square one. Because if she ain't happy, ain't nobody happy, right? Nah. For free, doesn't matter if I need to swap them back or not. I'm not going to do anything with them anyways. Any of you guys with these newer roadglides, comment down below what you've done with shocks. If you change the shocks out, I'm curious for real if anyone's ever decided to put 2 adjustable shocks, 2 of the stock Harley adjustable shocks on the bike. That might be too much, but if you're riding pretty heavy 2 up, that might work out. I'm just curious. But definitely comment down below what are some of the options you guys have went with, that whether it's a couple $100, $1,000. Let's start a discussion down below if you guys have spent any money on on different stuff. If you look over to your right, you'll see the craziest car ever. I wonder if there's been any memes about that stretched around the internet. I think those are like, I'm not even going to begin to say, but those wheels are so tall they can't even get tires for it. It literally just sits there, it's never moved. But let me know in the comment section what you guys have done for shocks other than factory. We'll get the old lady on and we'll see what she thinks about them. Alright guys, we're back with the road glide. Got it jacked up, got the shock off. Those dyna shocks, they didn't work. So let's look into it. Alright guys, we got the shock off on one side so I can kind of show you. This shock has got over 30,000 miles, or right at 30,000 miles on it. And it's probably just worn out. After speaking to a guy who works at a Harley shop, or used to work at a Harley shop, he said a lot of these shocks, they're blown out 10,000 miles. And I totally believe that. And I was rough on mine. I've jumped that bike, not on purpose, but I was up in New York, hit a really bad bump, didn't see it, and I was barreling down a road at night, and we jumped the entire bike, both wheels off. I could barely hold on to it. But the bike, the tires were probably a good foot off the ground. I mean, it was, I'm not exaggerating, it was a pretty bad jump. So I'm sure the shocks were destroyed at that point. But also talking to Cruisin' City, which I'll have a link down below to their YouTube channel, he did this upgrade. I don't know if it'll show up on camera, but there's an adjustment inside of here. Kind of see a little sprocket looking thing inside. Trying to get a good view, but there's a little sprocket thing that moves. You gotta have a special tool to do that. I don't have it, nor am I gonna spend the money on it because of what's been done with these shocks. But I just kind of wanted to show that, or try to pick it up on camera. But there's like these little, like a tool that would go in here and it would click and turn, and there's a couple of adjustments. Mine appears to be on the softest setting, which I believe it probably would be from who I got it from, but I don't have the tool, and given the life those shocks have had, I'm just not going to mess with it. Especially when this shock is more robust and I still have a little bit of adjustment left. That's where I was riding, which was fine, but you know, once I weigh this bike down and like say put a bunch of weight on it, take it on a trip, I'm sure that the ride quality just isn't going to be there. It's not going to be enough travel. Well guys, this upgrade didn't really work out. Me and the wife took a little ride yesterday with the bike, and the position just didn't feel right. I know these shocks have got to be worn out. The stock shocks are okay. They're probably one step above from these blown out dyna shocks. So definitely going to be looking into something else. I don't know if I want to do air shocks, so I can adjust it, or just do an actual like adjustable set of shocks. They do make the same shocks that I have, the actual jog specialties, for the dyna, and I love the way the dyna feels, so that's something I might think about. But kudos to Cruisin' City, great idea. And that being said, it's not a bad idea, especially if you're a lighter person. This might be an option, and there are some decent factory shocks. I know on the FXDI, I do believe they have 13-inch shocks, but there's some decent dyna shocks out there that you can pick up really cheap, or just used aftermarket dyna shocks you might be able to pick up pretty cheap for your road glide, and I guess street glide too. But you know, pick something up that's not too costly, but that's all right. We're gonna throw our stock shock's back on. We'll pump it up just a little more, but we'll throw it back on, take it down the road, know what it feels like. But that's a failed upgrade, which is fine. I do have handlebars coming, so that'll be nice. But let me know what you guys think. You know, have you done any weird shock swaps? Is there a shock swap out there that I don't know about? If so, you know, please definitely comment down below what you guys done. Even if it's you know, aftermarket shocks. What shocks are you running on your Road Glide? Should I go air suspension? I don't have the money to do Legends or anything like that. I got 2 bikes I'm working on. I can't drop that amount of money at one spot. But let me know down in the comment section below. And as always, keep it wretched.